I know I ain't watching nobody control a dark matter. Our dark matter Al Horford, and he clamping up KD. This is regular Al Horford.
You look at these rosters, a lot of talent in the backcourt.
Hey, but with Curry and them winning, it made Kevin Durant look really, really bad. Really bad.
Here's Lillard.
Oh yeah. If he go back over there to Golden State,
Here's Simons.
no one.
Count it. 1 for 1 to start the game.
No one wants him to go back to Golden State. No one.
And no one was there to greet him.
Well, this early, they should be showing a lot more energy on defense. It's not there.
Like you're really bandwagoning at this point. Yeah, you're bandwagoning. You were bandwagoning the first time, but you're really a bandwagon now.
Boy, Harden's one of those guys you look at and you can just see the team is first with him. He never hesitates to find the open guy.
Oh yeah.
Out to the right wing. Brunson misses.
I keep telling y'all, every time somebody doesn't play against LeBron James and beat LeBron James, Skip Bayless degrades them. I'm telling you this now. He degrades them all the time. I'm telling you, if Curry had to average those same stats against LeBron, he would have said A+. He would have said A++, and then he would have went up there to Undisputed. Well, hopped on TV and be like, when have we ever seen Michael Jordan been outplayed in the finals? Steph Curry absolutely outplayed LeBron James, and LeBron could be averaging a 50-point triple-double, but because Curry shot 50, 40, 90 and won the series.
Not exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know.
Just 1 of 4 shooting.
That's Skip for you, though.
Tremendous confidence of Luka Doncic. Part of what makes him
The only bad game that he had was literally game 4. Because I watched that game live. Game 4 was his worst game, I think.
When you have great talent, then you have swagger. And you have to remember, he played professional.
Looking back, it wasn't even that bad because he came back the next game and dropped 33 and they won the title, but
Well seasoned. He's been at this for a long, long time.
During the seeding games in the 2020 bubble,
But hey, we ain't finna do this. We ain't finna just talk about the Nets and act like the Suns did. The Suns? Bro, I don't care. Bro, I don't care if the Suns go 82-0 next year with the same roster. I really don't. If them niggas don't win the championship, bro, it was literally Luka versus the Suns, and them niggas literally got cocked. Like, choked the lead and everything. And CP3, 10 points in an elimination game. I'm never gonna forget that, bro. I'm not forgetting it. I'm really not. I can't. Like, literally, bro, and I told my friend this at school. I told him I was like, the teams that I really want to see play in the Western Conference Finals, since my Lakers aren't in there or in the playoffs, I want to see Phoenix and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. That's what I want to see. And then in the Eastern Conference, I wanted to see either Miami versus the Bucks or Brooklyn versus the Bucks. That's what I wanted to see. But no, Brooklyn got swept in the first round, and then the Phoenix Suns experienced Luka magic. Like, it's serious as that.
Boy, Doncic, with his size and ball skills and vision.
Like, people have been disrespecting Curry all year long. The fact niggas really thought that Stephen Curry was going to pull a CP3, which is disrespectful in itself, bro. They really thought Luka was gonna do that to Steph Curry. I was about to be like, bro, Luka is not Steph Curry. CP3 isn't, Steph Curry isn't CP3. No way. I know Steph Curry done chose 3-1 lead, but at least in that game 7 he had 22 points.
And they've settled in quickly today. A nice flowing
Like, at least he had 22 points, even though he shot under 40% from the field. He still had 22. This nigga CP3 gave you 10 points. 10 points. And them niggas lost by 42.
Doncic outside.
Stop.
Pocket 6. Going inside.
I think it is a record margin, possibly. For the largest win deficit in the finals, the playoffs. I think that might be a record. It has to be. Cause them niggas was playing like absolute trash. And even Anthony Edwards said it. He was like, yeah, we not in the playoffs or whatever, and y'all beat us in the first round. But as a competitor, Phoenix, seeing that Phoenix team, knowing how they play, they talk a whole lot of trash. And for them to get beat like this at the end of the year, it just comes to show you that they're not like that. They're not real. They're not real. They're clickbait. And that's what they are. They're clickbait. Literally, they're clickbait. And they were clickbait last year when Giannis beat them. When niggas had a 2-1 lead. I mean, not 2-1 lead. They 2-0 lead. They niggas had a 2-0 lead. And mind you, in games 3 and 4, they was up by 16 in both games, and they choked both of those leads. Both of them.
Out to the right wing.
Literally, they choked both of those leads and lost the game.
Lillard with the ball.
Just to have Giannis drop a 50 piece on their head.
2 points.
Like,
Got 6 points.
like, I'm sorry. See, look. I'm sorry to say this, but CP3 will go down. He will be a Hall of Famer, and he will go down possibly top 5, maybe top 3 in his position. In his position. But I'm sorry, I'm not putting him over Magic Johnson. I'm not putting him over Steph Curry. I'm not putting him over Steph Curry, and I'm barely debating if I want to put him over John Stockton. I'm barely debating that, and that nigga ain't got no ring, but that nigga played better defense than CP3, and nigga shot better from 3 than CP3. So that's debatable in itself. But some niggas have gone all the way to say that CP3 is better than the Pistons' Isaiah Thomas, who won back-to-back titles against, I think it was Magic and Bird. I think he won 2 titles against them niggas, and on top of that, he was facing Michael. Hey, thank you. He was going through Michael Jordan. Literally was going through Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who was averaging like 38 in those series. Like, even though Jordan was losing those series before Pippen became, he played great individually. Individually, Jordan played like Jordan, like the Jordan that we expected. Like, you can't.
We know how good Doncic is with the ball pulling up off the dribble, so it does him a bunch of good when he's converting his catch and shoot jumpers as well. Balances out his offensive game.
And he makes it. The Mavericks trailing. Doncic outside.
Right. It started in 84. Like, and that's the thing. It's like I always tell all my friends that are Jordan fans. I be like, what y'all don't understand is when Jordan faced when Jordan was losing before the finals was like LeBron losing in the finals. Like literally, that's the only difference. He has losses in other series besides the finals, and the only reason is because of that is because he had a Hall of Fame coach and 2 other Hall of Fame teammates that he played with for 15 years. LeBron James has never had a teammate that he has played over 10 years with that was an All-Star.
He's got 6.
That's why he always had to switch teams and make his own, build his own super team, because the franchise wasn't going to do it. At least with Jordan, his franchise was actually trying to help him win. They drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. They signed Dennis Rodman to that contract. They got Phil Jackson to be their head coach. When have we ever seen LeBron James' office get him another Hall of Fame coach on his team? Y'all think Tyronn Lue was a Hall of Fame coach?
We ready?
I mean, okay. All right. Okay, I guess Eric Spoelstra, but is Eric Spoelstra really? Eric Spoelstra is really not a good comparison to Phil Jackson. I'm sorry. He's just not. He's not. But.
And it's out of bounds to the Mavericks as Dallas retains
Like
possession.
literally. And then people like to bring up that he played with Dwayne Wade. And yeah, him and D Wade was dominant.
Just under 2.5 minutes gone
Right,
by.
them niggas didn't play for over 10 years and they were in the same draft
Here's
class.
Doncic. Kept alive. Outside Brunson. 4-3.
Right. And people don't like to talk about how really if we didn't have these stupid MVP rules, Dwayne Wade possibly would have had a regular season MVP back in 2010 before the year before LeBron even came over there. That nigga was averaging 35 and 5 on like 45% from the field, and niggas don't talk about that. They don't talk about how D Wade, when Shaq left and that 06 team got depleted because of injuries, and then they had to trade a few people, and then some people retired off of that roster. Once that happened, it was literally D Wade versus everyone on that roster. Everyone knows that, but no one likes to bring that up because LeBron came, and then when LeBron came, they used that as an excuse, but not taking into account that nigga D Wade. Right, exactly. We're not saying that D Wade was just totally trash. We're just saying by the time 2014 hit, Dwayne Wade was not the same Dwayne Wade. He was not. He was done. And same with Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, what people like to talk about is that Chris Bosh literally had blood clots and only played over three more seasons with the Miami Heat, and then was forced to retire because of health issues with blood clots. Then Dwayne Wade is getting underpaid by the freaking Heat, so he leaves and goes to Chicago, and everybody in Chicago is happy. But then when they get there, Rondo gets hurt in that playoff series, and they was expecting Dwayne Wade to go vintage D Wade, and it didn't happen because D Wade was not in his prime anymore. It was simple as that. And by the time 24, people don't like to bring up the fact too that Dwayne Wade literally averaged 14 points per game in the 2014 finals. They don't talk about that. They talk about how in 2011, okay, but they first year together, Dwayne Wade was leading the team in points in the playoffs because he was averaging 29 and LeBron was averaging 24. And let's not talk about the 2011 finals.
That shot is off. That's their plan, to get him an opportunity to finish it tight. That's a miss. They can live with it.
Exactly. Thank you. Like, we all come to the fact that, LeBron played terrible in those finals. Okay, cool. He played terrible in that finals. But every final since then, we've never seen LeBron James score under 25 points per game in the finals. If anything, one thing, and I hate quoting Nick Wright because Nick Wright has said some stupid things too. But one thing that he did get correct one time, he was like, since the 2011 finals, every year since then, that nigga made it to every finals, and throughout those finals, I think it was close to averaging, if not averaging, a triple-double in those series. Which is facts. Like, it's facts. It's right there. It's right there. Like, I can't ignore numbers. I really can't ignore those big numbers when niggas averaging. Like, when you're so good that even when you lose and niggas are still voting for you to be Finals MVP in 2015, you know you made it. You know you made it. You know you made it. Literally. You know you made it. Because the only person in history to do that when that rule was actually allowed to happen was Jerry West back in like the early 60s, I think. He the only nigga to win it because at that time they allowed that to happen. But after that, they was like, okay, if you lose the finals, I don't care if you average 50, 10, and 10, and your team lose and you don't get the finals MVP, even though you did average good, even though you did play good individually, you're not gonna get the award.
I think in that situation, it was a nice try to create some space for himself with the fadeaway.
Nice basic one-hander there. Hey, I think he got some extra bounce off the ground with that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, he was way up there.
Yeah.
Knocks down the triple. He's got 6.
Adjustment time for these guys. Defense has to make some adjustment.
Yeah, that is true. And
here are the Mavericks now.
And yep. Right, and that's why I say too. LeBron LeBron never faced what Jordan had to face with the freaking media. Because before Jordan started winning his titles in the 90s, them niggas wasn't like, oh, well, Magic Bird didn't do that. They didn't do that. They did not give him that. They were just like, hey, you know, Jordan played phenomenal and they lost. And they would put him on the cover of magazines. LeBron James loses. Jordan would never did this. Like, I don't think people understand that. I really do believe this. If Jordan never gets Scottie Pippen and those Bulls, or if he does get, exactly. If Scottie Pippen never becomes an all-star within himself and he becomes a bust, and he's one of like those like top picks who became a bust, Jordan eventually leaves Chicago. He would have been left Chicago. I'm sorry, you can't sit up here and tell me Jordan would literally sat there throughout that whole 90s decade to stay with the Bulls and won titles without Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant, and John Stockton, and John Paxson. I mean, not John Stockton, but John Paxson, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper, Dennis Rodman. Like, you can't tell me he was just gonna stay with Lodabar. You can't. Because Jordan's too much of a competitor to stay in some trash foolishness like that. Too much. He would have got tired of losing. Absolutely tired of losing.
Doncic outside. And the Mavericks, another three. They've been pretty lax with their perimeter defense, giving up a lot of three-pointers.
Exactly.
And their defensive rotations have been non-existent.
Like, and that's why I always say, all the time, I was like, if we're gonna freaking discredit the fact that LeBron has lost in the finals more than Jordan, we're totally ignoring the fact that LeBron has been so good to the point where he gets to the finals so much that him losing in some of these finals, and we compare him to Jordan, it's like Jordan losing in the first round, or like Jordan losing in the Eastern Conference Finals or the semifinals. Because LeBron makes it to the finals so much. And then when you say that, they be like, it's because the Eastern Conference is weak and Jordan's Eastern Conference is strong. And I'm like,
And the 6'6" forward Justice Winslow drafted 10th.
and I was like, okay, name me the players that Jordan had to face in the Eastern Conference besides Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas. Then them niggas don't know. And then I had to tell them, oh, that nigga lost to Sidney Moncrief and the Bulls. I mean, Sidney Moncrief and the freaking Bucks. Exactly. And Sidney Moncrief was one of the first freaking guards in NBA history to win Defensive Player of the Year before Michael Jordan did it in '88. Exactly. Real good. And niggas will not bring up Sidney Moncrief. Sidney Moncrief goes out of the picture. They only talk about Larry, and they only talk about Magic, and they only talk about the bad boy Pistons when it comes to. Yes. They don't bring up Sidney Moncrief beating Jordan anyway. And Jordan will. And it's crazy, Jordan never forgot about Sidney Moncrief in the Bucks because he brought it up in The Last Dance, his documentary. He was like, I don't know what it was, but every time we faced the Bucks at that time, the Bucks always had my number. I could put up 50 and we could still lose. Because the Bucks were just like that. They were so tough to beat. And I'm like, yep. And this will go unnoticed. This will definitely go unnoticed. Because they're only gonna talk about the bad boy Pistons and Larry Bird. That's the only people they're gonna talk about. They ain't gonna talk about nobody else. They ain't gonna talk about how in the early 80s and late 70s and entering into the early 80s, that the Sixers, Bucks, Celtics, Pistons were all good teams. We're all good teams. They were all good contending teams. They would all face Jordan all the time, always. But people don't like to talk about that because when people like to ignore history, they will not talk about it, and it goes unnoticed, and it's not popularized at all.
Did you see? I mean, using his normal frame to absorb the contact and still able to finish. Wow. Doncic. Rebounded by Winslow.
They had Moses Malone. Then eventually they had got Charles Barkley.
Uses the glass to finish.
They had Maurice Cheeks. They had all them niggas. All them niggas.
One touch from the inside.
They had hectic good players. They had good role players who know how to play their role, come off the bench, give them some buckets, and they'll be winning games. But that goes unnoticed. That goes unnoticed when
Well, this has been a great contest so far.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth quarter could have more action in store for us.
They won. Yeah, Julius Erving, Moses Malone. They went back to back. They went back to back. They're one of the greatest playoff teams ever. They're one of the greatest playoff teams ever, and it goes unnoticed.
Inside. Here's Powell.
People don't have to give them the credit at all. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Absolutely. Just plain ridiculous. It's like, what? I don't understand how that can go unnoticed, but it does because people only like to praise Jordan, and every time Jordan loses, it's always unexcusable.
Here's Simons. Lillard with the ball.
Yeah, it's always an unexcusable excuse. For LeBron, LeBron literally doesn't. LeBron for the media literally doesn't have any acceptable excuses. When in reality he does.
Even though they're on top, they're winning. I mean, they could use more from him. Trying to shut the door on this one.
Exactly.
Doncic outside. Wing shot on the way.
I don't get how people
Offensive
can.
rebound. The kick out to Brunson.
But it wasn't LeBron's fault for that entire series.
And the Mavericks lead by
But
2.
LeBron was averaging close to a triple double for the third. I think LeBron James is the only nigga in NBA history to average close to a triple double or actually getting a triple double average in the playoffs 3 years in a row. 3 years in a
Powell
row,
on the wing.
literally. From 16 through 18, I think that nigga was either averaging a triple double or close to it. And because they lost in 17 and 18, that goes unnoticed. But they're not taking into account that literally, I don't care what anybody says, all the people that LeBron has faced are better than the people that Jordan has faced in the finals. They're so much better. Like, cause when we had these all-time discussions, half the niggas that y'all would say that LeBron faced, that Jordan faced good competition to, is the same niggas y'all would literally disrespect and not even put on a top 50 list or a top 75 all-time list. Literally, on the top 75 list, I didn't hear Gary Payton's name, and I didn't hear his name. I'm pretty sure he on there though, because I think the NBA put him on there, but he not talked about enough. And he was a good defender for his position, and he won Defensive Player of the Year. He the only nigga in NBA history actually. He the only nigga in NBA history to keep Michael Jordan from shooting over 50% from the field. He held Jordan in the 96 finals. He literally was guarding Jordan, and Jordan was shooting 41% from the field that entire series. That was the most inefficient Jordan in the finals to date, statistically. But it goes unspoken because they won that series. They won that series in 6 games. It also goes unspoken that literally that Steve Kerr hit another game-winning shot again. John Paxson hit a game-winning shot to facilitate their championship in I think it was the '93 finals against Chuck in them. But people don't like to talk about that. But you'll hear Ray Allen say LeBron James. You'll hear Dwayne Wade say LeBron, or no, Dwayne Wade taught him how to win. Yeah, that's the order. Dwayne Wade taught LeBron how to win. Ray Allen saved LeBron's career, and so did Kyrie. You'll hear that too. But
that looked to me, guys, like a heat check. Maybe a step out of his range.
Yep.
In pressure moments,
yep.
He's a guy you trust to make big shots.
Exactly. Hey, but here's the thing. I understand that it's a team accomplishment or whatever, right? But niggas will be like this. They be like, yeah, but they would completely ignore that LeBron James literally scored 15 points to put them in. LeBron literally scored 15 points to get to that. And in my defense, and LeBron James never misses that shot. Chris Bosh. If LeBron never even takes that shot for him to miss, Chris Bosh doesn't have a ball and rebound. So there wouldn't be no. Exactly. It wouldn't even been no it wouldn't even been no rebound, Bosh, pass to Ray Allen, bang! It wouldn't even be like that if LeBron took that 3-point shot. What if LeBron just went up there and drove it to the hole, got fouled? Because people don't like to talk about this because I watched it. I rewatched that series, that game. I mean, in that series, that game 6. LeBron literally 2 plays before that happened. LeBron literally had gotten fouled at the line, and he made both of his free throws. And all he did was drive and got fouled because they had no other choice but to foul LeBron at that time. That's when LeBron had that quick first step to the basket, and can't nobody stop him. That was those days. And so 2 plays before that, he had got fouled, went back to the free throw line. What if LeBron literally just does that same thing again and gets fouled again?
Got it on cruise control.
And Ray Allen's just there on the court.
No good. Had a chance to end the run.
Then will be the excuse there for them to win that series. I mean,
rebounded by Johnson. And it's the Trailblazers' ball. They trail by 7.
oh yeah. I don't know if you saw my post on Instagram. I do. I actually have a top 10.
Doncic outside.
I had to drop Will out of the top. Exactly. I knew it. I had to drop Will.
Blocked out the distractions. Kept on grinding. And this is their reward.
It wasn't even that. It's hard for me, or just really anybody, for really to really rank, not Steph Curry, but Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, because when they were playing the game, the NBA was so different to the point where their era is really uncomparable. You can't really, yeah, you can't, exactly. That's why I always say the best eras to compare to today's era is really the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and the 2010s. Those are the 4 decades that you can actually compare to the modern era or the current era of basketball right now and be like, okay, there's more to compare. Because back then, in the 80s through the 2000s, through the 2010s, we had niggas keeping check of how many blocks per game you got. We have a Finals MVP. We have a regular season MVP. We had Defensive Player of the Year awards. We have scoring champions at the time. Like, we have all that, but back then there was only like 10 to 15 teams in the league, and then there was no free agency. So when an owner of a team has a guy like Wilt Chamberlain averaging 50, 20, and 5, and he wasn't gonna let that go. So Wilt Chamberlain never had the option until the 70s came to lead the freaking Sixers. He had no other choice to just stay up there because them niggas wasn't gonna trade him, because at that time there was no one as good as him offensively to get to even trade for. Even if you did trade Wilt Chamberlain for Bill Russell, you're only gonna get Bill Russell to get you 16 points and shoot under 50% from the field. I think he the only big man in NBA history to shoot 44% from the field as a big man, and he's 6'10". He's 6'10", shooting 44% from the field. I'm expecting those percentages from a guard, not a center. 44% from the field, you 6'10", you bigger than everybody in that era. Like, literally. Not to be all stereotypical, because I hate when people say, there was nothing but white boys, little short white boys in the league. Like, no, there was some black folk in that league that was short.